Good morning, students. Welcome back to the lecture series of remote sensing. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about sensor. Today, in this lecture, we are going to cover about different type of sensor, active and passive sensors, and different type of sensor activities of passive sensor, along with how many type of active sensors are currently used in remote sensing applications. A sensor is a device that measures electromagnetic energy. Sensors can be divided into two groups, passive sensors and active sensors. Basically, a sensor is a device that gathers electromagnetic energy or other type of energy and converts it into a signal and presents it in a form suitable for obtaining information about the target under investigation. According to Jensen in article in 2000, remote sensors are mechanical devices which collect information, usually in storable form, about objects or scenes, while being at some distance from other or in another region away from them. Sensors used for remote sensing can be either those that operating in optical infrared region, we call it OIR region, or other operating in the microwave region. Depending on the source of energy, as I've earlier mentioned, sensors are divided into two categories, active sensors and passive sensors. So what is a passive sensor? Passive sensors depends on an external source of energy, usually the sun, although sometimes Earth itself. The group of passive sensors covers the electromagnetic spectrum in the range from less than 1 picometer, that is the gamma ray range, to over 1 meter, those are micro and radio waves range. The oldest and the most common type of passive sensor is the photographic camera, the mobile phone camera which you are using. Then comes the active sensor. Active sensors have their own source of energy. Active sensors have their own source of energy. Measurements by active sensors are more controlled because they do not depend upon the varying illuminations conditions. Active sensors include the laser altimeter using infrared light, altimeter works, and a radar. A figure which we are showing here gives you an overview of the type of sensors that are introduced that I will explain you in this lecture. The camera, the multispectral scanner, and the imaging radar are been explained later on, respectively. For more information about the database of the sensor and that, you can read the ITC Aerospace Sensor Database. You can just search it on Google and you can have it. As you can see in this figure, the passive and active sensors. The passive sensors are quietly available in all the whole domain, including gamma rays to passive microwave radiometer. While the active sensors, we only have laser, LIDAR and radar techniques. Let's talk more about active and passive sensors. Once again, I am repeating about active and passive sensors. Okay, so what is a passive sensor? Once again, passive sensors, as I have already mentioned, they do not have their own source of energy. These sensors receive electromagnetic energy, solar electromagnetic energy actually, reflected from the surface or energy emitted by the surface itself. Therefore, except for thermal sensors, they cannot be used at night time. Thus, in passive sensing, there is no control over the source of electromagnetic radiation. Photographic camera without the use of bulb, multispectral scanners, Vidicon cameras, etc. are examples of some passive remote sensors. The advantage with passive sensor is that it is simple and do not require high power. While the disadvantage is that during bad weather condition, the passive sensors do not work. The thematic mapper sensor system on the Landsat satellite is a passive sensor, or you can say any satellite works on a passive system. What are the types of passive sensors? Passive sensors comes in a variety of types. As you can see some of the names, there are gamma ray spectrometer, aerial camera, video camera, multispectral camera, imaging spectroscopy, thermal scanner, and a radiometer. What is a gamma ray spectrometer? Gamma ray spectrometer measures the amount of gamma rays emitted by the upper soil or rock layers due to radioactive decay. The energy measured in specific wavelength bands provides information on the abundance of radioisotopes that relate to specific minerals. Therefore, the main applications is found in mineral exploration for gamma ray range. Gamma ray is a very short wavelength in picometer. Because of large atmospheric absorption of this wavelength, this type of energy can only be measured up to a few hundred meters above the Earth's surface. Example data acquired can be seen in the following figures, which I will show you in the next slides. Then comes the aerial cameras. The camera system, lens and film is mostly found on aircraft for aerial photography. Low orbiting satellites like NASA Space Shuttle mission also apply conventional camera techniques. The film time used in the camera enable electromagnetic energy in the range between 400 nanometer to 900 nanometer to be recorded. Aerial photographs are used in a wide range of applications. The rigid and regular geometry of aerial photographs, in combination with the possibility to acquire stereo photography, has enabled the development of photogrammetric procedures for obtaining precise 3D coordinates. Although aerial photos are used in many applications, principal application includes medium and large scale, that is topographic mapping and cadastral mapping. Today, analog photos are often scanned to be stored and processed in digital system. Some of the images can be shown in the next slide. Then comes the video camera. The video cameras are sometimes used to record image data. Most video sensors are only sensitive to visible color, though few of them can record the near infrared part of the spectrum. Figure shown in the next slide, which I will show you later, you can know those images, what type of images are there available in near infrared region. Actually, I have shown you earlier when we talk about resolution, but still there are some different images which have been available online, which I will show you. Until recently, only analog video cameras were available. Today, digital video cameras are increasingly available, some of which are applied in remote sensing. Mostly video images serve to provide low-cost image data for quality purposes. For example, to provide additional visual information about an area captured with another sensor. Then comes the multispectral scanner. The multispectral scanner is an instrument that mainly measures the reflected sunlight in the optical domain. A scanner systematically scans the Earth's surface, thereby measuring the energy reflected from the viewed area. This is done simultaneously for several wavelength bands and hence the name multispectral scanner. The wavelength band is an interval of the electromagnetic spectrum for which the average reflected energy is measured. The reason for measuring a number of distinct wavelength bands is that each band is related to specific characteristic of Earth's surface. For example, reflection characteristic of blue light give information about mineral composition. Reflection characteristic of infrared light tell us something about the type and health of vegetation. The definition of wave bands of a scanner therefore depends on the application for which the sensor is been designed. An example of multispectral data for geological application is shown in the next slide. Then comes the imaging spectrometer, which we say the principle of imaging spectrometer is similar to that of multispectral sensors, except that spectrometers measures only very narrow, that is 5 to 10 nanometer of spectral bands. This necessary results is an almost continuous reflectance curve per pixel rather than the value for a relatively broad spectral bands. The spectral curves measured depends on the chemical composition of the material. Imagining spectrometer data therefore can be used to determine mineral composition of the surface or chlorophyll content of the surface water. Thermal scanners are there which measure thermal data in the range of 10 to 14 micrometer. Wavelength in this range are directly related to an object temperature. Data on cloud, land and sea surface temperature are extremely useful for weather forecasting. For this reason, most remote sensing systems designed for meteorology include a thermal scanner. Thermal scanner can also be used to study the effect of drought, which we call water stress, on agricultural crops, and to monitor the temperature of cooling water discharge from thermal power plant. Another application is in the detection of coal fires. Then comes the radiometer. Electromagnetic energy with very long wavelength within the range of 1 to 100 centimeter is emitted from the soil and rocks on or just below the earth's surface. The depth from which this energy is emitted depends on the properties such as water content of the specific material or any other particular mineral. Radiometers are used to detect this energy. The resulting data can be used in mineral exploration, soil mapping, and soil moisture estimation. Since we have talked about different type of active and passive sensor, these are the image we want to show you. The first image on the left hand side, a colorful image of some urban area which you are seeing, is an analog false color video image of anal means teleopic word, and it is from Synoptics journal, so thankful to them. Then the second image, which is what I am talking about, is this image. Just a minute. This particular image which we are seeing here, about the mark I have made it, is the Landsat TM color image, composite image. We have used RGB band, band number 4 for red, band number 5 for green, and band number 7 for blue band. This is the area of Yemen. The second image which you are seeing, about black and white image, this particular image is a multispectral image. A multispectral image, the total suspended matter concentration on the North Sea, which is available from the CWIPS data, is provided in this image. And this black and white image which you are seeing here is a thermal scanner image. This is a nighttime airborne thermal scanner image over a coal mine with dark zones. The particular dark zones which you are seeing here, and this is the dark zone which you are seeing here. They particularly shows the cold surfaces, while the light one, which is here, some of these are here, shows you the high temperature zones in that particular area. Okay, so these are the relatively cold and light tones of this. Mostly of the warm spots are due to underground coal fires, apart from the largest light patch, which is a lake. Okay, this one is the lake. this particular largest file space. The rest of this thing are uh, due to coal mine. Okay, so now let's talk about active sensor. Active sensors, as I have already explained you earlier, that active sensors are those which have their own source of electromagnetic radiation for illuminating the objects. Radar, that is radio detection and ranging, and LIDAR, that is light detection and ranging, are some examples of active sensor. Photographic camera becomes an active sensor when used with a flash bulb. Radar is composed of a transmitter and receiver. The transmitter emits a wave which hits the object in the environment and gets reflected or echoed back to the receiver. The main advantage is that active sensors can obtain imagery in wave bands where natural signal levels are extremely low and also are independent of natural illumination. The major disadvantage with active sensor is that it needs high energy levels. Therefore, adequate inputs of power is necessary. So, what are the different type of active sensor? Mainly, there are, as I have already explained, there are laser scanner, there are radar altimeter, and there are imaging radar. So, what are this? What is laser scanner? Laser scanner are mounted on aircraft and used a laser beam, which is nothing but an infrared light, to measure the distance between the aircraft and the point located on the ground. This distance measurement is then combined with exact information on the aircraft's position to calculate the terrain elevation. Laser scanning is mainly used to produce detailed and high resolution digital terrain models, abbreviated as DTM. Digital terrain models for topographic mapping are mainly used in generation of map or 3D models. Laser scanning is increasingly used for the other purpose also, such as production of detailed 3D models of city building and for the measurements of tree heights in the forestry, and it goes on. The image which you are seeing here is a digital terrain model with 5-meter grid of the St. Petersburg, which is in NL, and it is taken from the survey department of Russia. Now, radar altimetry. Radar altimeters are used to measure the topographic profile parallel to the satellite orbit. They provide profiles, single line of measurements. That is, profile is nothing but a single line of measurements. They provide profiles rather than image data. Radar altimeter operates in the range of 1 to 6 cm domain and are able to determine the height with a precision of 2 to 4 cm. Radar altimeters are useful for measurement of relatively smooth surface such as ocean and for small scale mapping of continental terrain model. Some of the results of radar altimeter measurements can be used for use in different type of navigation satellite image systems. For example, Google, you can see where it is not the best example, but it also uses satellite images that is available over ocean. Then comes the imaging radar. Radar instruments operate in the range 1 to 100 cm domain. As in multispectral scanning, different wavelength bands are related to particular characteristics of the Earth's surface. The radar backscattering is influenced by the illuminating signal, which are the microwave parameters, and the illuminated surface characteristics like orientation of the surface, roughness of the surface, the moisture content of the surface, sometimes the dielectric constants of the surface. Since radar is an active sensor system and the applied wavelengths are able to penetrate through clouds It has all-weather day and night acquisition capability. The combination of two radar images of the same area can provide information about terrain heights. Combining two radar images acquired at different moments can be used to precisely assess changes in height and vertical deformation, which is also known as SAR interferometry. Okay, SAR interferometry. The image which you are seeing here is about a river, which you can see is available for is a SAR image data of a delta region of a river. The image allows three different forest type to be distinguished also, and you can see here clearly there are three different tones of color passing near the white color region which is available near the river. Then second, there is a dark patch at the end of the images, and in between there is a gray patch. So this type of images you can analyze and you can distinguish different type of data that is available, and you can classify the data and the characteristic of the earth's surface. Now we have talked about different type of active and passive sensors. Now it is time to talk about the characteristics of the sensor. Different sensors have different characteristics, and you know that most of the sensors are selected on the basis of these characteristics. So what are the characteristics and what are the sensors which we are going to talk about? First of all, the one of the important mainly those are the passive sensors which I am going to talk about in this particular audio. We are going to talk about optical infrared sensor. Then we are going to talk about in optical infrared sensor we will see visible and near infrared remote sensors, which covers panchromatic and multispectral imaging system. Then thermal infrared and hyperspectral mapping systems, and then microwave sensors. So optical infrared sensors or remote sensors, optical infrared remote sensors, are used to record reflected or emitted radiation of visible, near, middle, and far infrared region of electromagnetic radiation. They can observe for wavelength extended from 400 to 2000 nanometer. Sun is the source of optical remote sensing, and there are two kind of observation methods using optical sensors: visible or near infrared remote sensing and thermal infrared remote sensing. The visible near infrared remote sensing, in this, visible light and near infrared rays of sunlight reflected by the objects of ground is observed. The magnitude of reflection infers the condition of land surface, for example plant species, their distribution, rivers, lakes, urban areas, etc. In the absence of sunlight or darkness, this method cannot be useful. Panchromatic imaging system. In this type of sensors, radiation is detected within a broad wavelength range. In panchromatic band, visible and near infrared are included. The imaginary appears as a black and white photography. Examples of panchromatic imaging systems are Landsat ETM and pen sensor, Spot HRV pen sensor, and Iconos pen sensor. IRS-1, IRS-1D, and Cartosat series are also their example. Spectral range of a panchromatic band of a ATM plus available in landscape is ranged from 0.5 micrometer to 0.9 micrometer. Cartosat 2B is having a range of 0.45 to 0.85 micrometer, and Spot has a range of 0.45 to 0.745 micrometer. Multispectral imaging system. The multispectral imaging system uses a multi-channel detectors and recorders. It used to detect and record this radiation within a narrow range of wavelength. Both brightness and color information are available on the image. Landsat, Landsat TM, Spot HRV XS, and LIS etc. are the examples of multispectral imaging system. Then comes the thermal imaging system, or we can say thermal infrared remote sensing. In thermal infrared remote sensing, sensors acquire those energy or heat that are radiated by Earth's surface due to interaction with solar radiation. This is also used to observe the high temperature areas such as volcanic activities and forest fire. Based on the strength of radiation, one can surface temperatures of land and sea and status of volcanic activities and forest fires. This method can observe at night when there is no cloud. Okay, so secondly, there means we all know that thermal sensors can be used at night time, as they use Earth's emitted radiation for measuring this data. Then comes the hyperspectral imaging system. A hyperspectral imaging system records the radiation of terrain in hundreds of narrow spectral bands. Therefore, the spectral signature of an object can be achieved accurately. Helps in the object identification more precisely. For example, Hyperion data is recorded in 242 spectral band, and Evariste data is recorded in 224 spectral band. So you can understand that how much huge amount of data has been recorded and how much huge amount of information can be obtained from the data if properly analyzed. Then comes the microwave sensors. These type of sensors receive microwaves. Well, when we talk about microwave sensors, those sensors receive microwaves which are having longer wavelength than visible light and infrared rays. The observation is not affected by day, night or weather, and that's the beauty of a microwave sensing. Microwave portion of spectrum includes wavelength within the appropriate or approximate range of 1 millimeter to 1 meter. The long wavelength microwaves are about 25 lakh times longer than the shortest light wave. There are two types of observation method which is used in microwave sensing. Those are active and passive sensory method. The active sensing method, the sensor emits microwave and observe microwaves reflected by land surface features. It is used to observe mountains, valleys, surface of ocean, wind, wave and ice condition. And then comes the passive sensing method in microwave domain. This type of sensing records the microwave that is naturally radiated from the Earth's surface feature. It is suitable to observe sea surface temperature, snow accumulation, thickness of ice, soil moisture and hydrological application. RISAT (RISAT) is an Indian remote sensing satellite that provides microwave data. Okay. So students, here and listener, here I am ending my today's lecture. Hope you have enjoyed it. I have tried to cover almost a whole domain of sensors and make this lecture as small as possible. But you can see that sensors and their type and the detail of all this thing is not in the scope of our syllabus. So if you want to know more about the sensors and how it's activating, how they are selected, I recommend you to go to the ITC database, which I have provided you, the name which I have provided at the beginning of this lecture. A whole different type of the sensors and their criteria, what are the specific characteristics, how are they selected, means the features can be known to you in that particular address. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture. If you have any query, you can contact me. Till then, goodbye, see you, happy learning and have a nice day. Please take care of yourself. Bye.